So NORCO is probably my favorite game. It didn't start off as a game. Um, it started off as a multimedia project that was sort of an incorporation of like field interviews. It was something close to a documentary, which happened to have one segment where you would play as a robot in a side scroller, breaking into an oil refinery, and it was a very personal project to Yutz, pseudonymous Yutz, who's the developer, and it's sort of just a project that turned into a game because that's in the moment what he felt like the best medium for the story he was telling was, and I think the result is this dystopia um, that feels more real than any anything else I've experienced. Um, this is gonna come off as really petty, like me defending my favorite game from like a slew of people who didn't like it. When overall the reviews were pretty glowing. But I remember one review in particular where the person said, this game doesn't feel committed to its dystopia. There's some elements of dystopia, but the rest just feels like the world we live in. It doesn't make any sense. There's a robot in it. Um, there's this red halo of a sky. I mean, what are we getting at here? And like, I sort of felt like when I played Norco that's kind of the point. Um, I it it's kind of what I didn't realize what the most likely dystopic scenario would be, where there's a lot of elements in our current world that would carry over into something terrible. And like you don't have to commit to like a color palette, or you don't have to go like full cyberpunk with lights in the sky to to be dystopian. And I think it's kind of sad that that's what's expected. Um, that's what's expected today. Like you need to be like The Giver, where everything is a little unnerving in a very specific way. And I think Norco just kind of refuses to be that. And that's why I like it so much. Norco is a pretty bleak game where even the good ending doesn't really feel like a good ending. Um, but like in the 6 or 7 hours it takes to play, um, it really effectively ref, um, like fully it really effectively refuses to commit to like one side or the other. Like on one hand there's a lot going on in the game that isn't like the ending, and on the other hand a lot of it makes it hard to see how the world's going to get any better, if that makes sense. um what's so nice about it is like when you venture through the New Orleans part of the game, while on one hand you're the slave of like a giant duck Uber, um, on the other you're doing it with a really nice character who you grow to like, and you're going through the streets of New Orleans, um, which are probably less dense and less densely populated than they ought to be, but you're interacting with all these people who have personalities and who kind of just seem positive, who aren't letting the imminent end of the world get to them. And I feel like it's a mistake to call it uncommitted, to call it inconsistent. Um, I think it's about a world where things are complicated and where like nothing is one way or the other. And it sort of communicates that more effectively in 6 hours than if it were a much longer game, where perhaps it would feel tonally inconsistent. But with the length it is, um, it just feels like you're etching out um, a small part of a world, but that you feel like you've gotten a decent sample size of what this world is like. And yeah, I guess that's why I love Norco. It feels like something strangely comforting about a world we might be heading towards. Um, the ending is bleak, but um, not everything along the way has to be.